Thank you so much for finding time to be with us today. This is Kenya and Africa at a glance. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and as usual, we're coming to you all the way from Kenya's capital here in Nairobi. The date is 10th of February 2022. I trust that your day has started off pretty well. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're tuned in today. And as usual, I bring us first the headlines this morning. And we shall start with the Star newspaper and the main headline on the Star newspaper. How IEBC will spend 41 billion Kenya shillings for budget. And then DP Ruto leads Kenya Kwanza campaigns in Trans Nzoia, and YCS's Munya, Kagwe, and Yatani choose to stick with Kenyatta. That is on page 5 of the Star newspaper. And then we turn our attention to the Daily Nation, and the main headline on the Daily Nation: it's harvest season. Scramble for valuable candidates begin in earnest as formations take shape. That is the main headline on page 6 of the Daily Nation. Universities get to 214 million Kenya shillings boost from Treasury on the back page. And CBC will end exam cheating, according to Magoha. That is on page 2. And then we move on to the Standard newspaper, and the main headline: Uhuru's toughest 180 days from efforts to manage succession to cement his legacy to affairs with a shrunk cabinet and implement final projects. President is juggling so many balls in the air in his last 6 months in office. That is on page 10. Magoha 2021 examinations are ready. That is on page 20. Clan and party to decide next Kisii governor. That is on page 22. And East African Classic Safari Rally reads off today, and the story is on page 54, 55, and 56 on the Standard newspaper. Kingmakers, why Kalonzo and Mudavadi numbers matters. Following the release of IEBC voter numbers, Wiper and ANC leaders emerge as the possible kingmakers who could determine Kenya's 5th president in the August 9th general election. The story is on page 4 on the Standard newspaper. And right now, I'd like for us to turn our attention and look at some of the regional newspapers and what the headlines have for today. And we shall start with the ones from Uganda. The New Vision: cohabiting partners to miss out on property. That is the headline. And UN court slashes DRC war claim against Uganda. We shall continue looking at that. I think yesterday we had a bit of a talk about the same. So we shall see what is that ruling. I've seen that the ICJ already made its ruling, and the money that the DRC was demanding initially, the 11 billion US dollars, I think was slashed to about just slightly over 300 million US dollars there. So we shall talk about that on our Africa session. And the Daily Monitor, still from Uganda: men to inherit assets of wives. I think that is a bill that sets to make everybody equal, right? And then we move on to Tanzania. By elections, ED goes for broke. That is not Tanzania, but Zimbabwe. ED goes broke. That is the main headline. Government's pay offer divides workers. Also the same headline of the Daily News from Zimbabwe. And then the Citizen from Tanzania: upgraded VAT e-filing, digital game changer. That is the main headline. And Samia launches the Dodoma Outer Ring Road project. And then the Daily News, still from Tanzania: Dodoma braces for a new look. I think the same story. And the Mirror from Britain: cops may now probe PM's party drink squeeze and why I stayed with Wayne. That is one of the newspapers from the UK. But I'll skip that and just get on to some of the other papers from across the continent. And from Nigeria, the Nigerian Tribune: federal government begins probe of adulterated fuel imports. That is on page 2. And on Vanguard: but fuel scarcity worsens, cause storage delay removal. That is, and I think this has been a running story now for a while. There seems to be some problem as far as fuel and the gas prices, and even its availability right now in Nigeria. So perhaps for our viewers who are watching us from there, you can tell us what's really going on the ground there. Feel us up for us, and of course for the rest of our viewers across the globe. And on the Punch newspaper, still from Nigeria: marketers fear courts cases, federal government hits at compensation for damaged vehicles. That is what we have. All right, so right now I'd like to bring in my panelist, and also Touchline Africa's correspondent from Nairobi, and our in-house analyst, Daniel Wasonga. Wasonga, quite a good morning to you. Very good morning to you.
Yes, a very, very good morning to you, Miriam, in Nairobi. Good morning to our viewers who are joining us this particular morning in Nairobi, who are joining us in East Africa, Africa, and the rest of the globe. It is my pleasure to be on the conversation this particular morning.
Okay, so let's just start from the Standard newspaper, because we saw that for the last 2 days or so, a lot of CSAs and other, people who are allied to President Uhuru Kenyatta's cabinet have resigned because they have to, they're running for different slots. And there are people who we expected would resign, like Peter Munya, I think has decided to stay on. And others, maybe Eugene Mawalwa, people expected he will resign, and others who we know have had a political history. And we were hoping perhaps they'll go back and maybe run for these offices, but that has not been the case. But from efforts to manage succession, cement his legacy, run affairs with the shrunk cabinet, and implement final projects, the president is juggling so many balls in the air in his last 6 months in office. Let's just look at the shrunk cabinet, part, because we know right now President Uhuru Kenyatta is in a haste to at least conclude majority, of the things that he's been doing in line with his agenda, the Big Four agenda, and others that had started. And having a shrunk cabinet is not such a good idea for him right now. Will that work against perhaps slowing down some implementation of some of these things? Because we know the ministries have the greater responsibility, because they're tasked with the implementation of some of these things, some of these agendas.
Thank you so much, Miriam. And of course, majority of the ministers who or the CSS and the cabinet assistant ministers and the PSS who resigned are not in those key critical dockets that maybe perhaps it will go to an extent of affecting the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Also, one thing the constitution stipulates is that a single cabinet minister can be able to actually undertake or maybe be in charge of more roles, or maybe 2 or 3 ministries at a go. So I believe these might not work to derail the legacy of the president. And in as much as the legacy projects are concerned, actually a majority of them are the tail end, and most of them are actually completed. So if it has to do with the legacy, then I believe the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta is still in the safe hands. And for those projects that are not yet completed, I believe it was even as per the plan from the President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration that they be rolled over to the next regime. And that is why perhaps the president is so keen that whoever comes into office after him in August 9th, then he should be, or she should be, a person who is very keen on implementing and completing these legacy projects. On the resignation of the ministers, the cabinet assistant secretaries, and the PSS, I hope you are very keen to look at the way they were resigning and wherever they were headed to. The other day, you saw a majority of people from the deputy president side, or who are actually from the same tribe, actually resigned and headed all the way to Karen to join the UDA. However, on President Uhuru Kenyatta's side, you've seen very few cabinet secretaries, cabinet assistant secretaries, and also PSS actually and resigning. Also, even the departmental heads and the heads of parastatal, very few of them have resigned. And those who have resigned actually those ones who had a very, very serious, maybe personal ambitions of vying for gubernatorial, maybe member of parliament seats. So that tells you, if you expected maybe Peter Munya to resign, he did not. If you expected Dr. Fred Okengo Matiang'i to resign, and he did not. If you expected Mutahi Kagwe to resign, and he did not. Those are people who know where the next government is. Otherwise, if they knew that perhaps they were not going to form the next government, some of them who are politicians like Eugene Wamalwa, I know he would have resigned. We would have had so many people resigning from the president's side, because knowing that if you are not going to form the next government, then I better actually vie for a political seat where I'll be still enjoying power and all the trappings of power that comes with it. We know that is how it works, and so many of them will be so afraid to be outside the government. But you have seen the composure so far so good. You've seen how they are very steadfast in helping the president complete his legacy projects. And that is the way things are going to be done, Miriam. that is where the next government is. And these people are not worried. You know, majority of them have been in previous cabinets, and they know and they can smell where the next government is going to come from. The likes of Mutahi Kagwe, the likes of the likes of Peter Munya. These are people who have served in previous regimes, in previous governments as cabinet ministers, and therefore the direction of the next government can never elude their sense of smell. So to me, I believe that is a very, very strong statement. Those who are watching this space must be very, very keen and look at whatever the cabinet is doing and wherever these individuals are actually focusing on. And you heard Peter Munya saying yesterday that there is no way he would have even also resigned, let alone the political interest. There is no way he would have resigned when he had just started some reforms in the agricultural sector. That means that the reforms he has started would have been left midway, and someone else would have come on board who might have wanted maybe to bring a totally different new policy. And that would have meant that all the work that he has been doing ever since his appointment into the docket would have gone to waste. And that is the perception of many other ministers, including Mutahi Kagwe, who is saying that right now it's a very, very critical time for him to be able to abdicate the Ministry of Health, because he has been combating the pandemic. He has been working with experts. Therefore, bringing a new individual on board, it will actually be akin to starting from the scratch. But nonetheless, Miriam, these are political appointees. These are politicians. Even the most domicile like Magoha, he knows where the next government is, and he's a political appointee. And all the actions they undertake, or how they react to the resignations and not resigning, and how they undertake even their duties, will point to where the next government is headed. And I can tell you without fear or favor, Miriam, you saw only the ministers who are allied to the deputy president. Majority of them are the one who resigned.
But to be fair, I think Azimio benefited. Azimio had 10, benefited from the number of people who resigned. Azimio had 10, and UDA had 6.
And you have to understand, Miriam, that Azimio is not a single party. It is a coalition of parties. And you know, President Uhuru Kenyatta, when Jubilee Party was collapsed, we had URP, we had TIP, we had so many other parties which were collapsed to form the Jubilee Party. And President Uhuru Kenyatta actually appointed his people, his public officers from all these various parties. But it is URP of William Ruto that selected a majority of these CSS, the majority of PSS, the majority of cabinet assistant secretaries, predominantly from his Kalenjin community, predominantly from the URP brigade. So when you see the number of people who went to UDA, those are people who are in URP. But when you see people who are from the president side or Azimio side, they actually, some are from Jubilee Party, maybe let's say 40% from Jubilee Party, another percentage, maybe 3% from the Northern Frontier Party, another one from maybe even Tana River. We had guys from Tana River, we had guys from Mombasa. We had, and President Uhuru Kenyatta actually also went for academicians, you know, guys who were appointed to those positions because of meritocracy, who do not have any political affiliations. So you realize that people who are actually, who have political interest, who are in President Uhuru Kenyatta's cabinet, or maybe who are appointed in government senior offices, did not resign at all. So that has something to worry William Ruto. You know, if you are lieutenants, even a strong lieutenant like Charles Keter does not believe that he can still wait and be appointed even a minister of finance or defense in your government, but will rather consider going to vie for governor of Kericho, then it should tell you that they do not have faith in you. Why can't Senator Murkomen also not vie for a position? Why can't people like Duale say, this time I'm not running because I believe William Ruto is going to form the next government? They are all going to run. The same thing with those who are supporting Musalia and Wetangula. Even Wetangula, I know he's going to secure his Bungoma senatorial seat, and how I wish the constitution will stop him from vying, because once you have stood as senator for 2 times, you should be told now 2 times are enough. Don't go for a 3rd and a 4th time. Consider running for president or any other senior position. That should be the way to go, Miriam. I submit.
Very well, thank you so much. So just a bit of a rundown according to the Standard newspaper. on the president's agenda just a few months to his retirement. What he needs to do now, appointments for smooth running of government by filling posts left vacant by exiting officials, and then legacy is cement legacy that oscillates between digital economy and Big Four agenda, and rush to complete pending key projects under tight timelines, ensure polls are free and fair for a peaceful and united country, delicate balance and push to ensure his preferred Azimio wing becomes a formidable force. So they're trying to explain to us what perhaps is on President Uhuru Kenyatta's plate right now. But filling post of these vacant places now, that is something that I don't think the president will be doing, intervening for news, cabinet secretaries. There's no time for that now.
Miriam, I believe in positions where necessity will dictate that we have new guys brought on board, I believe the president will do a reshuffle. But for other roles where maybe another minister can be able to take the map, then I believe it will not be necessary for him to do so. And I know the president, just like you say, we are so much time bad, and we have seen how the president has operated before. He's a man who has worked in the Ministry of Finance. He's an economist. He knows on how to be able to be effective and ensure efficiency. And therefore, he might not perhaps consider replacing every or maybe rehiring for every slot that was whose minister or maybe whose leader was resigned recently, but he might be able to reassign roles and maybe get a few individuals to fill up the vacant positions that were left in key critical dockets. And as you know, for some time, there's a time the CS of Interior, Fred Matiang'i, was able to handle actually 2 dockets at a go when the appointment for that particular docket had not been done yet. So I believe with that in mind, there are some dockets which can be put under the minister of a certain docket. We have some dockets like the cabinet assistant secretaries, where we do have actually 2 individuals. So if one resigned, I believe one is will suffice to be able to run the affairs of the docket and all that. So I agree with you, Miriam. If necessity pops up and the president is actually considers to appoint a person to replace those ones who resigned, well and good. But if it doesn't, I believe the president might not go ahead and appoint them, because the constitution gives him a right to assign more duties to other ministers and other leaders of government.
All right, in acting capacity, I believe. Very well, let's just leave that matter. I see that Douglas Kirimi has joined us, but we shall look at the next item. And that is Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha has defended the new competency-based curriculum CBC, saying it is the magic bullet for integrity concerns that have dodged the setting, printing, and administration of examinations. Professor Magoha added that the CBC helps children discover their career paths early enough for exposing them to the areas of interest at a very early age. Students going to grade 6 will be less motivated to cheat under CBC, as tests contribute 40% of assessment grades, he said. He was speaking at St. Mary's Secondary School in Kangundo, Machakos County yesterday when he launched the new classrooms built to accommodate junior secondary schools students next year. And the professor said CBC is not exam-oriented like 844 system, explaining that children going to grade 6 next year will have done 60% of the assessment, leaving only 40% for the final exam. This, he said, removed the motivation to cheat in the final exam. So they say, according to Professor Daniel Kirimi, a very good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Miriam Ogutu, to my friend Sean Wesonga, to our crew at our headquarters, and also our friends across the world. Good morning, Good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where they are watching us from. Thank you.
Very well. So Magoha is saying that this new CBC curriculum is the magic bullet that will finally end any form of cheating in our examinations. Do you agree with that?
Miriam, to some extent, I also agree with him. And also, we need to understand that the curriculum-based competence and education system that has been brought to our country is something that we need as a country, but I think its implementation was not well thought of. But I think, from my perspective, that people should be doing exams based on what they love or based on what they have chosen, not some courses or some subjects or some units that they have not been able to be well acquainted with or that they are not passionate about. And when that comes, you are being tested on something that you love, media. For example, I used to love history and, for example, CRE and English. Those three subjects, if now there was some form of CBC based on the same, I would have chosen English and history, and I would have done so well without even thinking about many things like cheating in exams, without thinking about many things about revising, because I would sit, including today, for an English paper without doing any revision, or in a history paper without any revision, because it's something that I'm passionate about, something that I can read at my own time, something that I don't need a teacher's supervision on the same. I believe what Professor Magoha says, but the very goal or the end game for the CBC system in our school system or in our education sector is to make sure that our children do something that they love. And I love the fact that the government of the Republic of Kenya has embraced the same. Of course, I have issues with its implementation, the speedy implementation of the same, but CBC is an idea whose time has come, and even politicians that are yapping from rooftops of vehicles saying that CBC is going to be scrapped off when they get into power. Miriam, they need to be very, 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 very oblivious of this fact that this country, that this nation, that we need to be able to test people based on what they are competent on, and also we need to put things to very clear that in as much as some people like myself have a problem with the implementation of CBC, CBC is the bullet magic, as Professor Magoha calls it, and we believe that it's going to change the education sector in our country as a whole, because you are being tested on what you are passionate about or something that you like. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, I understand where you're coming from, Daniel. I mean, Douglas Kirimi, and perhaps what CBC is set out to achieve. Daniel Wesonga, will this see a decrease of exam cheating that we've seen plague, especially during our national examinations in the country, the KCSE, I think especially. I don't know if KCP also there's been some cheating, but Professor Magoha is saying this is the magic bullet that will help us solve this problem. How is he right?
Absolutely right, Miriam. And of course, CBC is based on critical thinking and learners being able to explore and allowing their mind and brain to actually wander and think outside the box. And like whatever we were just confined to in the previous curriculum. And as Douglas says, we were actually forced to learn whatever was there, but not whatever we wish to do in life. So you really wonder, what does maybe knowing about the year that Vasco da Gama came to the port of Mombasa help you? What does maybe the Battle of Adwa in Ethiopia actually help you if you're not going to be interested in doing history, anthropology, and all those kind of courses? And you find that learners are actually captured by this kind of a system. They're actually forced to do these particular courses for over 8 years or even 10 years, in that after now 10 years is when you are given a leeway now to drop it and pursue other interests. Why can't we be concentrating on students who want to do engineering? We start with them from an early age. Students who want to do music, we start with them from an early age. The students who wants to do something like aviation or computing, you start teaching them programming from a very early age, so that by the time they are age 16 or even 20, they have already done the 10 hours where every profession needs for one to become an expert or maybe break even requires. So by age 16, age 20, we are dealing with people who have already become an expert on whatever they do, and therefore they can be ripe for their career path. Rather than in Kenya, after one goes all the way to high school, you finish university. When you sit back, you don't even remember whatever you did in high school and how it applies with your job market. Now from university, someone has to sit back at home and think whatever he wants to do or they want to do in their career path, simply because they were given education in bits. They were forced to concentrate on things that were not helpful. I have a cousin who wanted really to do something to do with architecture, but they were forced into doing law, and immediately they were able to finish a degree in law, they actually were considering to go back to school and now partake a degree in architecture. And that is because of our curriculum, you know. Our curriculum, all the curriculum was based on just the same way with our system of election, where we have the winner takes it all or first past the post. You know, if we have a disadvantaged student in one area of study in a class, then it means this student will be disadvantaged throughout their course of study, or maybe they'll always be ranked the last in their class without the teacher or maybe the examiner considering that this student has actually a talent in another field that actually, if we can make them concentrate on it, they will bring the best out of themselves. So to me, I believe this was what actually occasioned cheating. It was a matter of life and death, just like the curriculum in India, where even parents camp outside the school on the windows and try to help their children cheat. In that, if these children do not actually pass the exam, it means that their future is actually done and dusted. They are not going to be anything successful in the society. And that is what our Kenyan system was before the CBC. So it actually made learners and teachers actually resort to cheating and using dubious way of passing exams so that they can be able to pass this exam. And passing an exam means that you're going to be having a great career, or maybe you're going to be studying for a very good course in the university. And therefore, after there, you're actually guaranteed of getting a good job. They did not teach learners to become experts in their careers, but rather they taught them to pass exams. And once passing exams, it does not matter whether you crammed, it does not matter whether you are assisted to cheat, but once you got an A, you knew you were going to do a certain course or maybe going to a certain university, and from there you land a good job. And that is why today we have people, when they go for interviews. I remember some years back, attending some interview where even people with doctorate came, and actually whoever got hired were not people with doctorates. Why was it so? It is because, you know, we focus on the theory rather than giving people the time to focus on their skills, to focus on the experience, and knowing, maybe understanding, do these people really maybe fathom or maybe understand on how the job is done? I can tell you, Miriam, today, most hospitals are actually going for nurses who have diplomas and not those ones who have a degree course. Why? Because the KMTCs and other technical training colleges focus on enhancing the skills of their learners. And the universities, as much as they're concerned, they only focus on the theory, and most of the students steal exams, others buy grades, and therefore it is a mess, Miriam. And that is why the employers are not considering people with degrees. They're going for people with diplomas. And that is the same thing that the CBC is doing, is moving away from the old system where our education was concentrated on theories and unnecessary things. And it's actually aligning to the labor force and the career path of most students. You know, how does the companies want their children, their employees trained from an early age? How does people, maybe these children, learn how to become a good police officer? How do they learn to become a good business person? That is what is being done in CBC classes. You go there, you find someone who wants to become a police officer. They have been dressed in a police uniform, and they are now being given a role together with other students to control the traffic, or maybe going to arrest a person and being able to press charges. You find someone, a student is being allocated a duty of maybe being a doctor, checking and diagnosing and asking questions. That is all we need to do. Before that, we used to have the old system. You will only be taught that for you to be a doctor, you have to do a science courses, you have to take biology, you have to take chemistry and mathematics.
But I don't think that will change. That will still be the requirements. But at least if you're able to be exposed and to practice these things at an early age, you can gauge your interest, whether that's really what you want to do. So I understand that, Daniel. But I'm afraid we have to move on to other things now. But your point is home, right? Okay, yes.
Just to add something, you realize in the old system, you will be taught about maybe chemistry or biology in some schools, and there is not even a single laboratory for you to conduct experiments. So how do you, I know so many schools in the village where we did not have laboratories, but nonetheless learners were being taught those subjects, and some of them were passing. Passing from where? What knowledge are you getting? How are you going to apply it in your field of study? I believe, Miriam, CBC is the medicine of all evils that have been in our education sector.
Very well, very well. Thank you so much. So before we get into the politics, let us touch base with the legacy just a little bit and just keep track of what is happening in terms of some of the initiatives that President Uhuru Kenyatta has launched. Others are drivers and orders for new vessels from different clients on the continent. According to KSL, a number of requests to maintain and repair vessels from partners in Uganda and Tanzania have also been filed. KSL runs shipyards in Kisumu and Mombasa. The firm is primarily domiciled within the Kenya Defence Forces, with the soldiers, including marine engineers, running operations at the shipyards. A visit by the shipping and logistics team on Tuesday at the shipyard based in Kisumu Port showed the extent the engineers have gone to reconstruct ships at the yard. A huge infrastructural upgrade has seen new slipways built and fresh vessels building equipment installed. Engineers from KDF were busy constructing different parts of MV Uhuru 2. A few meters away, 2 cranes were lowering huge parts of the hull to the building dock where an outline of the ship is taking shape. And I know a lot of Kenyans perhaps were complaining, President Uhuru Kenyatta is militarizing the country. But you see, if we put all the skills and knowledge they have in good use outside of them protecting our borders, Douglas, actually we stand to benefit so much from our military, because they do have a diverse of skills and knowledge that could be very helpful to this country. But that aside, this shipyard was launched just less than a year ago, and we see now it has really started taking shape, and before we know it, it might even transform the city of Kisumu to be a very strong economic hub there, in addition to whatever else is going on. Douglas. Daniel.
Yes, thank you so much, Miriam. And of course, we've seen how competent our military has been, and especially here in Nairobi, through the leadership of General Mohammed Abdallah Badi. You realize that when we had Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko, most of our roads were actually dilapidated. We had no medical facilities in the slum areas. We had rampant water shortages in most city estates, and the service delivery at City Hall was actually a nightmare for most of Nairobi city dwellers, and actually more so the business community. But once we brought on board the NMS under the military, you saw how the corruption that was in the corridors of City Hall was actually swept clean. And right now you go to City Hall, you get services without those cartels that will hang in the corridors to solicit for bribes and coerce you to give them money. Being there, we've seen how they have been conducting even the construction of roads around the city. We've seen the timeline they have been adhering to construct even roads and other projects that have been assigned under them outside Nairobi in other parts of the country. So therefore, there's some kind of discipline that comes with the military. There's some allegiance of patriotism that is exuded from our military men, our men in boots. And that is what is lacking in the civilian population, and more so the political class. And that is the same thing Dr. Masango was talking about. Do we have patriotism? Do we have social contract? You realize the military have the social contract with the people of Kenya. When they were being taken on board, you realize they saw allegiance to protect and to defend the people and the property and the country and its borders in totality. And therefore, that is why you see, whenever they're given any mandate, whenever they're given a duty by the commander-in-chief, who is the president, they undertake it with the seriousness, the integrity, and the efficacy that it deserves. Not like the political class where maybe a tender will be given, you come down to check the progress of the project maybe 5 years down the line, you only find the equipment that was delivered there during the launch of the project is actually what is rusting at the premises or maybe at the site. So to me, I believe the military is effective so long as it's delivering results. I don't think it is fair for people to feel disgruntled about their presence in undertaking the legacy projects. I remember when NMS was coming on board with Badi, we had a few political puppets, maybe politicians like Murkomen, coming on board and saying that President Uhuru Kenyatta was militarizing the country, it was unconstitutional to have NMS and all that. But today, all their mouths are shut because of the good work that is happening in Nairobi. Today, they can be able to drive on very smooth roads across the streets of Nairobi as they do their other things at night, you know, without worrying of their cars hitting potholes, without having the worry of even getting mugged in the dingy streets that were in Nairobi before the NMS came on board. And that is all the good work that has been done through the military. You realize that Muhammad Badi even went a step further to actually be able to renovate and be able to repair vehicles that have been rendered by Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko as junk, you know, as scrap metal, and he was able to bring them back to life. And those vehicles are actually which are serving the people of Nairobi in various capacity, and that will have all gone to wastage. So you realize that in military we have a rule of respect to the command. We have a rule of finishing things in time, in a timely manner, and we have a rule on frugality, where resources should not be squandered, but however little you have, you will actually be able to serve the purpose and achieve bigger goals. And therefore, that is why we need some kind of military discipline. And I remember while discussing this particular issue, Miriam, some time back, I recommended that even some counties where governors have failed to deliver on their promises to the people, we should be having a structure which allows the military to take over for the rest of the term, so that they show these people how work is done in a timely manner, without corruption, and with saving a lot of resources, without wasting a lot of resources. So to me, Miriam, I support whatever the president is doing. Let the military do the work. If politicians have failed the people, if civilians cannot be able to be accountable, if their only goal is to loot money through corruptions and having white elephant projects, then let us give our military the mandate to serve this republic, because the military is the only other disciplined forces apart from the police and the rest who have sworn allegiance to the social contract of protecting the people of Kenya, its property and the borders without any fear or favor. Those are the right people who can do the work if the civilians are not quite effective. And that is why even in most countries, if the presidency fails, if the leadership of the country fails, the military steps in. Why not for a failed governance? We can do that, Miriam, and let the military do its roles under the president.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. And of course, when it comes to the disciplined forces, the military is the top tier, I believe. You work in a military base. I have a bit of a history with that. You already become disciplined. The atmosphere forces you to walk on the straight and narrow. Very well, Douglas Kirigi, I don't know if you're back and if you can hear me. This Kenya shipyard was launched barely a year ago, and right now it is boasting of already having 11 orders, and it's building, and this is under the military stewardship.
Thank you, Miriam. I can hear you, and a technical reach. Sorry. But one thing that I've come to realize in this country, for us to also curb corruption and inculcate great leadership in our country, patriotism to our soil, to our blood, and also to our flag, we need to be able to, number one, add over key installations to the military establishment in this country. Because, Miriam, we've seen anything that has been given to the people, state appointees, and also people who are qualified for those positions in different parastatals and government institutions or installations, they have run them down and also taken the whole chunk of monies and also ran away with it. We've seen for the last 4 years, Miriam, people have been stealing from morning to evening. For the last 9 years, he's stealing every day. There's a man who is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya who was said to be stealing from 5 a.m. in the morning. up to late into the night. And this man has been accumulating a war chest to run for president of the Republic of Kenya. A very selfish ambition to become president of the Republic of Kenya, the best of the people of Kenya who would want to enjoy better services, who want to enjoy infrastructure, who want to enjoy better agricultural reforms and also healthcare systems in this country. If, for example, the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya was a military general, I am sure 100% he would have kept the cartels and he would have brought discipline and also honor and grace to the office of the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. So, Miriam, in essence, I think that we need to be able to get more military generals to run this country so that we can restore order and then revert the country back to civilian law rule. Because at the end of the day, if we don't do that, Miriam, this country is going to be run down. We've seen like several cabinet secretaries, permanent secretaries, and cabinet assistant secretaries who have gone out there to campaign for positions, even after preferring and stealing public funds, Miriam. If the military people were installed in those positions, they would not have resigned today. We've seen what Sean Wasonga said about Nairobi metropolitan area, that is being mad by a general, a man that there is no scandal that has rocked the NMS since its inception, Miriam. When the president of the Republic of Kenya installed NMS in Nairobi, we have not had General Badi being dragged into the mud because of corruption allegations. We've not had officials from his office being dragged into the mud because of corruption issues, Miriam. If at all what they have done, they have brought glory to Nairobi, they have brought grace to the city, and they have also brought dignity to taxpayers' money and also proper accountability of what is given to Nairobi City County from the national government and also from the office of the president, that now people in slums, people in different places in Nairobi can enjoy clean water, they can be able to enjoy better health care, that is working, people are being paid well in the city county of Nairobi because a general is in charge. Another example is the KMC, the Kenya Meat Commission, the KMC, where military generals have taken over and people are being paid within 72 hours of delivering their livestock or their cattle or their animals. Miriam, this has not been happening before, where they were selling 10,000, 8,000 per day. They are making profits of millions of shillings. And these are reforms, military reforms or discipline that we would want to inculcate in our public service, that public officers would not steal so that they can run for president of the Republic of Kenya, maybe run for MP or governors of their counties to continue their looting sprees, Miriam. And that's why I suggested 1 year ago that in this country, when a county is caught stealing, a governor like Moses Renakoral Kasaine of Samburu, that county should be added directly to another NMS in Samburu. Turkana, 100 billions have been sunk into Turkana, and the governor Jospati Corin Nanok, has been able to run that county down, stealing and buying choppers, building hotels, and buying vehicles for his many friends, and making sure that this accountability is steamed into our public service in counties and different places, Miriam. We can be able to revive our public sector and also bring investor confidence back into our country. For example, an investor is assured when they come to the city of Nairobi, there are no cartels to run them out of City Hall. They are assured that the investment is safe. And when they try getting services from the same county, they are going to deal with a general, a man of impeccable integrity, and also a man of high discipline, morals, a man that is going to deliver even to investors, raising investor confidence and also putting the Republic of Kenya in a different pedestal than what thieves have been able to do to this country. So, Miriam, I recommend military action or military intervention in key installations in this country so that we can save our country. Even as the next regime comes, I advise them, the next 1 year or 2 years, please add over these things to military people so that they can bring discipline, take them back to the public, to the civilian people. And when the civilian people run them down again, Miriam, we have no choice than give this country to the military people. Because, Miriam, at the end of the day, if we had a military person running affairs in this country, I believe that Uhuru Kenyatta should have been a military man. Thank you.
I don't think that's what I want to see as a civilian in this country, I do not want a military rule. But what perhaps we were saying is we need to involve more of the skills and the knowledge you do have, military men and women to help in solving, in effectively addressing some of these challenges.
Exactly my point, Miriam. Thank you.
Like for me, what I've been saying here, and I'm totally convinced, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, if we give the military the responsibility of ensuring all of these arid and semi-arid areas which do not have water, for instance, and we give them a responsibility to sink boreholes or things like that, they can really do it. And perhaps that will save us the issues of water and scarcity of it that is making, communities from this area fight every now and then, because that is part of it, why they're fighting and all that. But to see them take a hold of this country, no. But to want to see their skills and being used effectively for the betterment of our country, absolutely, that I want to see. I like to President Kenyatta Kayapo. All right, but still on maritime, before you move on to other issues, dozens of Kenyan seafaring students are set to start internships with two global shipping lines, the Swiss Shipping Line and the Mediterranean Shipping Company. The shipping companies have enlisted the services of 48 Kenyan seafaring cadets for the sea time services of 12 months. Sea time is a mandatory requirement for marine engineering and nautical science cadets who seek to qualify as marine engineers and navigating officers. The internships have come through an arrangement between the shippers and the Kenya National Shipping Line. So I think we're making quite an advancement as far as our maritime economy is concerned. Okay, so now let's just get into other matters. And the anti-corruption watchdog requires 50 million Kenya shillings for mandatory integrity checks on individuals seeking elective positions. The amount is part of the 360 million Kenya shillings the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has requested in additional funding in the supplementary budget for 2021-2022 financial year, currently under consideration by the National Assembly. IEBC Chief Executive Officer Twalib Mbarak, while appearing before the National Assembly Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs to push for the additional funds, warned that unless the money is made available, the Commission may not vet aspirants. It is a requirement of the Leadership and Integrity Act that individuals seeking elective and appointive positions in the country and national governments be vetted by the EACC. This means that people with integrity issues will likely find their names on the ballot papers. This is the time for the EACC to be alert in terms of background checks. We have the mandate to tell IEBC, Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, the people who are suitable for clearance in the elections, but we cannot do that without doing the background checks, which require money. I mean, the background checks are Daniel Wesonga, and I'm really trying to understand why EACC needs this additional 50 million Kenya shillings on top of what they asked of the 360 million Kenya shillings in the budget 2020, 2021, 2022 financial year. And they're saying much of it will go to a background check in the age of technology, where if somebody says they went to Manchester University, all I need is to write an email, to call there. Like, I really don't need to go there physically to do a background check. Am I missing a point here?
Miriam, we would rather start by asking the EACC, what have they been doing to office? Where are the millions and billions of shillings that have been allocated to the body have been going to? Because EACC has been there since time immemorial. It has only been changing names, to actually show Kenyans some kind of seriousness. It has been having one chairman after the other without any real impact, In fact, EACC has had more casualties than the corrupt individuals in this country because of its lack of effectiveness to fight corruption. It has been changing chairmen from one man to another without a success, but only little has been seen in the corridors of justice in regards to the people who have been able to be prosecuted and maybe be brought before justice by the EACC itself. So this is a toothless dog. It has not done Kenyans any justice. It has not assisted us to fight corruptions. in any case, whoever is brought before the court of law by EACC on accusations of corruption have always had a way of walking away scot-free without being actually convicted. So to me, EACC should be told that whoever much is given, much is expected. And for the much that has been given to EACC, Kenyans have seen nothing from it. And therefore, I do not understand when they request for more budgetary allocation to do background checks. And these are duties that have been supposed to be doing for years back. For the people who are going to vie in this year's August elections, EACC ought to have acquired their files. EACC ought to have worked in close coordination with the DCI and other investigative agencies to check their backgrounds, to know what they do for a living, how they acquire their wealth, which institution they went to, or which institution they did not go to, where they allege that they went to, and all those kind of shady dealings that maybe perhaps will form a basis of they being disqualified from running for office. But at this particular time, with only 6 months remaining, Miriam, for EACC to wake up from slumber and ask for more money, then it will be akin to Kenyans actually throwing their monies into this bottomless pit where there are no results which would be expected to come out of it. So to me, this is a futile expedition. Kenyan government should not waste more money on EACC. They should operate with whatever they have to make sure that they do background checks, proper background checks on these individuals. They ensure that whoever has been accused of corruption or may be found culpable of having an inexplicable wealth are actually barred from vying. So let them operate with the current budget they have and let them give Kenyans whatever Kenyans pay for. Anything short of that, Miriam, I don't think Kenyans should entertain it. I submit.
Okay, thank you. Douglas, are they taking the issue of verification of this, of some of these things they need to verify for the aspirants, very literally, because you really don't have to travel anywhere physically in this day and age for you to get some information that you're looking for. And furthermore, according to this story, EACC needs about 80 million Kenya shillings to enhance corruption prevention programs and public awareness on ethics and integrity. These are jokers. Tell me why we should give them this money.
Miriam, EACC should be disbanded. Then we can have, maybe we can change the name the way we've been changing the name, but without changing the faces that aid the EACC the way we know it today. That is a corruption cartel. It's an entrenched entity that is in the constitution, so that that body will continue siphoning public funds and also entrenching corruption in our system as a country. Miriam, why would you need 8,000? In 2003, when KEACC was formed, the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission was formed in 2003, I think, or 2002. That commission itself alone spent a huge amount of money erecting billboards across this country. This is a corruption-free zone. But in 2003, I was old enough to realize that that billboard or that board or that banner that was erected, that this is a corruption-free zone, meant that mother of all corruption issues happened in those offices, Miriam. And if in 2003 and 2005 and 2007, they were investing money in such programs and many other, why would they ask for 80 million shillings taxpayers' money that would have sunk Abwaho in Mukuru Kwanjenga or some other place in Nairobi that President Uhuru Kenyatta has done on Northeastern, so that we can be able to bring clean water to the people of Kenya. These are people who are seated in Nairobi who want millions of shillings, Miriam, so that they can verify documents from aspirants. Miriam, if fake documents are presented to you, you'll know definitely these are fake papers. Again, at the end of the day, Miriam, if information about the Kenya National Examination Council, you need to access it. They all live in Nairobi. They have vehicles that are forwarded from one season to another. They can go there and verify everything that they need to verify, which does not spend another dime on taxpayers. And also, Miriam, you need to also put this issue into context. When they tell us that they need money so that they can now go and do awareness in across the country and tell the people of Kenya corruption is not good, and the same corruption is perpetuated by the same officials of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission of Kenya. Miriam, these people are not serious. They should not be added, like Sean Wasenga said, they should not be added a dime on their budget, Miriam. They should operate with what they have and give Kenyans service give Kenyans service for what they employed to do. Because Miriam, that commission, honestly, until we come up with a solution that can give us a better constitutional body that can be able to deal with corruption decisively, it's not going to happen. I thought when the retired Archbishop Eliud Wabukara was installed as the chairman of the Anti-Corruption Commission, I thought he's going to bring a lot of stability. But there's nothing that has happened before, Miriam. The corruption cartels continue growing stronger and stronger every day. What we hear is that a big corrupt official minister has resigned to go and run for governor in Kericho or some other place in this country. And this is so wrong, Miriam. We cannot have a constitutional body mandated to deal with the corruption, asking for more public funds, and they cannot deal with issues that they have today. I get disappointed every time, Miriam, I hear that a case has gone to the anti-corruption court in the Republic of Kenya. And when these people, Miriam, present these cases, sometimes it is they present cases that have no sufficient evidence, and they end up throwing out these cases because they were bribed through the back door. Miriam, why would we add such people or such a commission or such an establishment more money to continue stifling our efforts to be able to curb corruption in this country, and also to bridge the gap between the corrupt and the more corrupt in this country? I think the EACC today in our country is bridging the gap between the corrupt and also the more corrupt in this country, Miriam. Honestly, I have no kind words for these people. The budget that they are asking for should not be availed to them. They should work with what they have. Thank you.
Thank you. Plus, I know that the Kenya National Examination Council already has a lot of some of these, papers that they're looking for. So it's just liaising with the Ministry of Education that will give them, and I'm sure it's the Ministry of Education which can ascertain some of these papers, because they know, they have the records, they know, and some of these things are available. I don't think they will cost an extra time. And the money that the EACC is asking for, an extra 50 million Kenya shillings, but also they now want Daniel Wesonga, another additional 80 million Kenya shillings. And for that, they need to start programs needed to fight corruption, enhance prevention of programs, and public awareness and ethics and integrity. Public awareness. I don't know when I've ever seen any advertisement, any initiative by the EACC aimed at creating public awareness around matters corruption. I have not seen that. If this, how much money they're asking in terms of creating awareness and all that, I don't know if they've been doing, but surely we need some results first. Daniel. I don't know if Daniel is there, Douglas.
Yes, Miriam, repeat the question. I'm lost.
I'm saying, if this is the amount of money they're asking and they're saying for awareness, I've not seen an advertisement, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, run by EACC or any initiative run by EACC to sensitize people about corruption, because these are things we've been talking about here. So it needs the money to do that, to sensitize people about matters of corruption and create awareness, and also on ethics and integrity. I think we have curriculum. In our curriculum, we have that. We're teaching these kids and how, what the Constitution says. And plus, we do have the chapter 6 of the leadership and integrity. It's very simple. If this person does not match this, they're not supposed to be, to be sitting in any office, any public office. But now they need this money to create awareness on matters corruption. And yet, they're not showing us any results from what they've been doing. They've been doing something, but it's not enough, I think.
Thank you, Miriam. I'm very disappointed in EACC. The same institution that calls out the people of Kenya, at least the DCI, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, have given a number. If you tell them what is happening in the society, they will sweep into action and also arrest the culprits and also bring them to book, and also make sure that they are arraigned in court and all that, and maybe they are booked in police stations across the country. To SEC, when you tell them a man is perpetuating corruption in a certain office, they'll tell you they have received information and no action. And the same people are telling us a billboard in Meru Town, Embu Town, Nairobi City County, Mombasa City County, and Kisumu City County is going to deter the people of Kenya from corruption, or if they erect billboards across the country asking us to fichua or maybe disclose whatever corruption issues are going on in the country, that they are going to act. Miriam, they have not acted since 2003 when KACC was formed and Aaron Mwau was the first chairman of KACC. And now, of course, of those days, when they tell us that they need to go out there and tell the people, bring awareness to the people that corruption is bad. If you find someone that is corrupt, you can call the EACC headquarters. The bishop is going to talk to you, and we are going to arrest those people. How many people have gone before Douglas Ogoti of the anti-corruption court in Milimani, and they have gone scot-free? If you caught stealing around 20 million or 10 million, you are slammed with a 1 million or 800,000 cash bill or a solid of the same, a board of the same, or a surety of the same. But these people are not serious, Miriam, telling us they are going to hold for us that they were holding in 2003. These are the same people who are doing the same thing that they were doing since 2003 and expecting different results. Miriam, these people should be defunded. That EACC should be maybe reformed the way it is today. Maybe take out those people that are in office. It's a constitutional body, but we need to be able to make sure that this EACC works for and the benefit of the people of Kenya. I think EACC and other constitutional bodies are hiding incompetence and laxity behind their constitutionalism, or the fact that that is a constitutional body that should do their work independently. I agree. I recommend the EACC, the way it is today, should be reformed for the benefit, for the public good, and the welfare of the people of Kenya who get affected when these people continue stealing from the public, and when the EACC sweeps into action and they take people or the culprits or the suspects before the anti-corruption court. These people are released to come back and run as governors to continue perpetuating the culture of stealing from the public. There is a man called Fernandez Barasa, the former CEO, I think CEO, managing director of Ketraco, the electricity generating company. And the CEO of Ketraco was supposed to go and get grilled in parliament by the members of parliament over alleged loss of billions of shillings in Ketraco. But the man resigns and says, I'm going to run for governor of Kakamega. And in Kakamega, villagers are singing Barasa, Barasa everywhere. And these people are going to run using the same money. I'm not saying Barasa is a criminal or is a corruption suspect, but what I'm saying is the same case, the same analogy I'm giving about Barasa is happening everywhere. Ministers are resigning. You are told your ministry has stolen this amount of money. Money cannot be accounted for. Appear before parliament. Before you appear in parliament, you resign. Then the acting person or managing director or CEO takes over and goes to answer questions of a man that already ran away with the money. And then the EACC is telling us they're going to go before us in the villages where barazas of this world are coming with the sacks full of money, 1,000 each or 500 shillings each, and then you sing Governor Baraza Tosha for governor. Miriam, these games and shenanigans should end here. The EACC should be reformed as it is today. It is a constitutional body, I agree, but we need to be able to, number one, reform, two, reform, three, reform. If we don't, these games since 2003 are not going to bear any fruits for us. For example, the Gisheru and the Obure corruption case, extradition case, they're supposed to happen. They're supposed to be taken to London so that they can be tried in that country, in the UK. But that case has been dragging all over, and they want new cases. Miriam, we have no cases. They should excuse us as the people. Thank you.
Very well. Very well. Thank you so much. All right, now let's get into a bit of politics. I see Daniel is back, but we'll just cross over to the next topic for the interest of time. And Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi is facing the fight of his political life as he desperately seeks to ring-fence Western region and its 2.7 million vote ahead of the August 9th general election. Widely considered the gentleman of Kenya's politics, but that has changed since his new alliance is becoming something else. Very interesting, but anyway, he's been considered the gentleman of Kenya's politics. Mr. Mudavadi is a prized friend and foe when he came out swinging during the ANC National Delegates Conference at the Bomas of Kenya on January 23rd, while announcing a political pact with Deputy President William Ruto and of the United Democratic Alliance. The former finance minister fired salvos at the Jubilee administration for mismanaging the economy. He has now intensified his onslaught on the Azimio la Umoja movement, led by former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, as he seeks to consolidate support in Western behind the Kenya Kwanza alliance. And we know that Azimio la Umoja has been having an onslaught on Mudavadi, and you've seen a lot of his key former party members defecting from his party and joining Azimio la Umoja or DAP party, which we shall look at, because yesterday I heard them say that this is a party, this is just an extension of ODM party, but we shall get to that in a bit. And as it is right now, Daniel Wesonga, things are not looking very good as far as the DP expecting Mudavadi to deliver the votes, at least a good amount of votes from Western Kenya. And Mudavadi and Wetangula now, they seem to be facing a lot of pressure and they have to earn their keep.
I believe, Miriam, yesterday was just, I don't know if you are able to follow the events that happened in Trans Nzoia yesterday, and I believe that is just the beginning. Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula were actually heckled so badly that they could not even be able to sell their candidates at the local level. And that is the kind of maybe myopia maybe that William Ruto held, or maybe even the Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula themselves held when they were signing an agreement to work with the UDA, because it was very, very difficult to convince the people of Western Kenya to vote for William Ruto, maybe have a partnership with him. After all these years of insults, bravado, and actually demeaning the people of Western Kenya, I remember the first place where William Ruto started his narrative of Kupanga Watu was in Western Kenya, telling them that Luyas, if they are not quite keen Wange Wapanga, he would arrange them and make them have leaders that they will not intention to have. And also, Western people are very much awake to these intrigues that have been played by William Ruto for over years. You remember when they were in CORD and NASA respectively, William Ruto will call them failures, will call them watu wa kupigwa na bibi, ule jamaa wa pombe na kuiba pesa makaburi and all that. Why is it that he has changed now the perspective or perception about these people, when previously he perceived them to be losers when he was with Raila Odinga? And that is what the people of Western Kenya are serving him. To go with these losers, then continue working with them, but we as a people are not going to follow this. So to me, William Ruto signed up for a raw deal, and he's not going to get votes from Western Kenya courtesy of Musalia Mudavadi nor Moses Wetangula. And Moses Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi on their end, actually their political journeys are actually punctured. Their egos have been dented, and they're actually injured and wounded. They cannot be able to sell their new bride that they got engaged to some few weeks ago, because these are a person who has been accused of massive corruption cases. These are a person who has been demeaning the Luhya community. These are a person who has not helped the Luhya community, not unless on his own personal benefit through Rashida Chesa, who they used to strike deals and steal money from the government. Otherwise, Miriam, I believe now you're going to see the high voltage politics of Mulembe Nation. And I can assure you, DAP is going to continue reaping members of parliament, leaders, and even voters across Western Kenya. And I can assure you also that the Jubilee Party, the party of President Uhuru Kenyatta, is going to have more followers in Western Kenya more than UDA or any other party. So I believe the people of Western Kenya are very, very much alive to where the direction in which the country is headed, and they are very, very much alive to where the country ought to be. And therefore, they are going to help President Uhuru Kenyatta leave the country in safe hands, in the hands of a leader who will assist complete the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta, and who will bring the people of Mulembe Nation on the table on an equal basis, not a person who tells them on how he's going to arrange them and how he's going to decide for them who to elect and not to elect. So therefore, Miriam, that is what is playing. And I must laud the people of Western Kenya for their generosity and ambience, amiability when it comes to welcoming leaders. You know, sometimes I see William Ruto addressing a huge crowd in Western Kenya, and people maybe who are allied to him think that maybe the Luyas are going to vote for William Ruto. No, Miriam, that is not going to happen. You saw the other day in Busia, just by a slip of the tongue, the ugly underbelly of the UDA and popularity in Busia was actually exposed, because the moment the aspirant mentioned about people voting for Azimio la Umoja, all the entire crowd adorned in yellow colors and green colors went wild, actually applauding him. That tells you where the hearts of the people are. Even the aspirants, their minds and hearts and souls are actually in Azimio la Umoja. And if William Ruto manages even 20% or 15% of the vote in Western Kenya, then he will have really tried his level best, Miriam. I submit.
Okay, now we do know that the Western region, voted heavily for Mr. Odinga in 2007, 2013, and 2017. But Mr. Mudavadi is now battling to drive a majority of the votes towards his alliance in what is shaping up to be the toughest succession races ever. But will he succeed in at least helping the DP garner a majority of the votes from the western part of the country? Okay, I think we shall move on from that because I think you've given your thoughts extensively there, Daniel. So we just move on to the next matter, and that has to do with some of the claims that has to do with the DAP parties. Let's just look at the Standard newspaper on page 6. And Kenya Kwanza Alliance yesterday accused the newly formed Democratic Action Party of Kenya of attempting to split the Western region. Deputy President William Ruto criticized Defense Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa and Tongaren MP Eseli Simiyu, saying they're being used by ODM leader Raila Odinga. There are some people who are being used to divide us. They have created a party for them. When you see Eseli Simiyu and Eugene Wamalwa, can they establish a party? They have been given a party. They are stooges of Raila, said Ruto of Tongaren Bungoma. He told them to vote to join ODM instead of hiding under DAP Kenya. Go to ODM and run in ODM with your man so that he can face off here in Bungoma. You must be man enough and say they're in ODM so that we can face off. He said, speaking in Kitale, Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala dismissed DAP Kenya, saying it was a vehicle used by political brokers. It is interesting, Awesonga, that the DP will tell of the members in DAP Kenya, and he's telling them, you are just an extension of ODM, so stop masquerading and a DAP Kenya party and just stand with ODM, something that he's been unable to do. He can't even resign from Jubilee and strongly move on to the party that he believes, carries the aspirations and the things he wants to do. UDA, he's still on Jubilee on paper, but he's still running. So what moral grounds does he have to tell the members of DAP to stop masquerading and go on and run through ODM?
Miriam, one thing I would really like to tell William Ruto is that when Wafula Mnyinyi, Dr. Eseli Simiyu, were actually fighting for multi-party democracy, William Ruto and Moses Wetangula were actually playing under the table of President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, and some of them were dishwashers in Kano. When William Ruto says that Eugene Wamalwa cannot create a party, we need to debunk that lie and remind him that Eugene Wamalwa was actually the party leader of New Fort Kenya, which was folded up together with his URP in the formation of the Jubilee Party. So these lies, he should take them elsewhere to Sugoi or anywhere where people buy that kind of hogwash without asking questions. Eugene Wamalwa has been a seasoned politician. He actually started campaigning for presidency long even before William Ruto thought of abandoning maybe his Eldoret North parliamentary seat to go for higher office, a national office, so to say. So to me, I believe, all this noise won't change the fact that DAP is actually raiding Fort Kenya and actually causing damage to ANC and depriving them of popularity. He's just a disgruntled buyer who wishes maybe perhaps he would have maybe put his money on another horse rather than maybe banking with Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula. And this is because after buying Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula, Eugene has gone behind their backs and actually stole the little political capital that they were holding, and now they are empty shells, and William Ruto feels frustrated and infuriated because of this. But you have to also give credit to Eugene Wamalwa and his team. They are not engaging in insults, they are not engaging in bravado, they are not engaging in shouting matches. But you can see behind the scenes, behind the quietude that they are operating in and the serenity they are actually initiating their processes. Most Western Kenya leaders are actually throwing into their offices here in Kilimani, and they are actually signing up new members every day. And no wonder he says that DAP Kenya is the fastest growing party in East Africa, north of Limpopo and west of Sahara. That is very true, Miriam. And therefore, that you have to note that anybody who defects from Ford Kenya to DAP, anybody who defects from ANC to DAP, anybody who defects from UDA to DAP, actually means William Ruto has lost a vote or maybe a number of votes from his basket. And latest being the ICT director in his office, Mr. Morris Kakai Bissau, who actually was a gubernatorial aspirant or maybe flag bearer for UDA in Trans Nzoia. That is a huge blow for William Ruto. And I understand William Ruto is actually crying over the loss. So let him cry slowly, let him cry quietly without mentioning names and throwing insults. Of course, for a chicken that is being slaughtered, Miriam, it has to throw tantrums and it has to throw kicks here and there and show some kind of struggle. That is why William Ruto is out there trying to fight anybody who tries to come on his way. So to me, I know it is just a matter of time, but very, very soon, his goose is going to be served, and William Ruto is not going to be the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya. I would just like to reiterate whatever the SG for Kotu said. Wacha watu wakate miti, because whatever will be announced on 9th of August, William Ruto could actually hang himself. So that is the reality of the matter, and that does not change any kind of dynamics, no matter how much he insults Eugene or any other leader of Western part of the country. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. And of course, Douglas, I don't know if you're back. There was a bit of a technical glitch earlier, and I don't know if you're back, but during that meeting, okay, yes, as you respond to that, DAP now being accused to be an extension of ODM, and Deputy President asking the leadership of the DAP party to just run through ODM and stop masquerading as a different party, because they, according to them, it's the same outfit. But also during that meeting, legislator Aden Duale accused President Uhuru of demeaning his deputy, arguing that as a symbol of the country, the head of state needs to lead by example. And the DP does not, as a leader, does not have the responsibility of leading by example. I mean, this is amazing.
Miriam, I would first dive into the DAP issue. When William Ruto comes to Mount Kenya, the same issue, the same contempt that he is treating with leaders of Western Kenya, where actually Sean Wesonga comes from, he is treating these people with a lot of contempt, the way he is treating us in Mount Kenya. If Moses Kuria, if Peter Munya, if Kiraito Murungi, if Mwangi Kiunjuri of the TSP are formed parties, these are formidable parties, and nothing that is going to change that fact, Miriam. In Central Kenya today, we want to run on TSP, we want to run on Chama Chakazi of Moses Kuria, we want to run on BAS of Kiraito Murungi, we want to run on PNU of Peter Munya. We want, in Western Kenya, the people there want DAP, their own homegrown party. In the coast, they want their Pan-African Alliance Party of PA, of Amazon Kingi. In Northeastern Kenya, they want UPIA, associated with the Ukuriatani Kanacho of Marisabit, the cabinet secretary for treasury, and William Ruto and his people encouraging, they're associating themselves with the UDA, a party that we have now concluded is a Kalenjin affair. Or the encouraging ministers and assistant ministers and PSs who have resigned have joined that party. In Mount Kenya, the same thing is happening. And Miriam, we cannot deny the people of Western Kenya the opportunity to have a party of their own on what they can be able to do with their own political future. And William Ruto is usurping that power and authority from the indigenous peoples of different parts of this country. For example, in Meru, you cannot deny the people of Meru the indigenous power of deciding authority, of deciding to support Kirito Murungi's Bas party. You cannot deny the people of Central Kenya the opportunity of supporting the Chama Chakazi of Moses Kuria. You cannot deny the people of Laikipia and other parts of Mount Kenya, including Meru, supporting Mwangi Kiunjuri's the Service Party of Kenya. You cannot tell us that UDA is a national party, whereas it's a Kalenjin party that you have fronted, and you want the people of Kenya, all of them, their leaders, to abandon everything and worship you in Karen. Kirito Murungi, the governor of Meru, who is my governor, can't do that. Peter Munyo of PNU, the cabinet secretary, can't do that with his PNU. In DAP, in Western Kenya, the cabinet secretary for defense, Eugene Wamarwa, has done a great thing for his people. You cannot afford our parties and join your small party telling us it's a national party. Miriam, we cannot do that. Eugene Wamarwa and the people of Western Kenya, Wafula Wamunyinyi, Simiyu Eseri, they have the responsibility, the authority of taking the destiny of their people into their own hands in their own party, their own homegrown party. And Miriam, the danger of folding our parties and joining one minority party, as we saw in 2017, 2016, 2017, is very dangerous, Miriam. And people are saying we can have our parties, but work with you at the top. And that's why we have the Political Parties Act or law that has been made into law, that has been amended, and also now that we can be able to have our own small parties here, but at the top we can support one coalition or we can support one party. But this William Ruto, with his dictatorial tendencies, wants to tell us Moses Kuria is a bad man since he has his own party. Eugene Wamarwa is a bad man since he has DAP. Kirito Murungi, the governor of Meru, is a bad man because he has his own Bas party, and also a party that is spearheaded by Mwangi wa Iria, the Usawa Kowote party. All these people with their parties, Miriam, should be given the opportunity and also given time to decide on whose side they can be able to support, on which party they can be able to run. If they want their own party, like DAP has taken the Western Kenya by storm, well and good, we wish them all the best. But at the top, they can decide to work with William Ruto, decide to work with Raila Odinga. But William Ruto is usurping that power from these people, on these leaders, so that he can render them powerless. And this is something that we do not want as a people and as a country. We do not want to be taken to the era of one party state where William Ruto is the only cock that is making noise at the top, political cock. But at the end of the day, we want an opportunity where we don't have people who are operating with a lot of political impunity like William Ruto is doing today, Miriam. I believe in Wamarwa. He's a nice guy. He can do whatever he wants to do with Western Kenya. In Meru, Kirito Murungi and Peter Munya can decide what they want to do with our people. If they decide it's Bas, they can join Bas. If it's PNU, they can join PNU. If it's Chama Chakazi, people can join Chama Chakazi or Savino of Paul Muite. So Miriam, the tendency of discrediting other leaders based on the fact that they don't want to support your party, you can't ask them to join ODM. Even people in Nyanza can form another party like a PDP of Migori Governor Okothi Obando. And the Raila does not begrudge him, since he supports whatever he wants to support using his own small outfit. So Miriam, this idea of killing democracy, stifling democracy in the name of a national party, we have had a national party like Jubilee Party of Kenya. We have had the regional parties like Wiper in Ukambani, and democracy has gone up. We've always had an opportunity to come together. Even in the era of a minority party called Jubilee, 13 parties were wiped together to come and join the minority party of Jubilee Party of Kenya. And these people, we still had ODM dominating the political scene in the country. We had other parties across the country. So Miriam, the political dictatorial tendencies of William Ruto should be stopped by all means, because that is stifling democracy, it is killing our democracy, and also undermining our leaders. What is
what does William Ruto possess that Eugene Wamalwa does not possess? Kiraito Murungi has 30 years of political experience, minus William Ruto's, I think, 25 or 26 years of political experience. We all have an opportunity. We cannot have one political conman, hybrid political conman, dominating the political scene like Akorasas, whereas our leaders will be told to quell their tails and run away into their villages singing UDA. We cannot do that, Miriam. We have no opportunity for dictators. We want to grow our democracy. We want to take this country forward. And William Rutos of this world have no space and time to come and lie to the people of Kenya the way he has been lying, that he has been working with the president, whereas he has been stifling and also stifling progress and also sabotaging the government of the President of the Republic of Kenya. This political saboteur, Miriam, should be taught a lesson this political season that UDA is not the alpha and omega of the political scene in this country. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And I think that marks the end of our Kenyan news and analysis. So for right now, I'd like to bring us the latest from the continent of Africa. So I'll just read through quickly, and if any of you has any comments that you could pick on a story and make, that is also welcome. And we shall start with a story we did yesterday. And the International Court of Justice, ICJ, has ruled that Uganda must pay the Democratic Republic of Congo $325 billion in compensation for invading and occupying Ituri province between 1998 and 2003. ICJ Chief Justice John Donoghue broke down what the reparations were for. $225 million that was meant for the damage to persons, and $40 million for the damage to property, and $60 million for plundering natural resources, including gold, diamonds, tungsten, and timber. The amount is a tiny fraction of the $11 billion demanded by the Congolese government. The case goes back many years. In 2005, the ICJ ordered the neighbors to negotiate mutual reparations, but they were unable to reach an agreement, and with DR Congo pushing the case back to the court in 2015. This ruling is final, but the ICJ does not have any powers to enforce, as we have seen in the previous cases, including that one between Kenya and Somalia. And in other news, an oil spill off Nigeria's southern coast covers an area of 780 acres that happened. This is the size of a small football pitch. It follows last Wednesday's explosion of an oil production vessel, the Trinity Spirit, that had a storage capacity of 2 million barrels, though it was not believed have been storing that much. 3 people died in the blast. And of course, Nigeria has said that it is confident it has the capacity to deal with the oil spill. And then in South Sudan, one of South Sudan's oldest kingdoms has been restored more than 100 years since the death of its last monarch. King Godue was killed by British officers on patrol in 1905, but on Wednesday, his great-grandson was installed in his place as monarch of the Azande. Hundreds of people turned out to see the coronation, and of course, it was an important moment in the history of the Zande people there in South Sudan. Look at that, our old kingdoms coming back. We might just, replace that with this democracy that we grapple with, especially this continent. And then we move on to Libya, and Libyan Prime Minister Abdulhamid Al-Jaber has survived an apparent assassination attempt by unknown assailants. Several rounds struck his car as it was being driven through the capital Tripoli. Earlier on Thursday, the gunman fled the scene. Rival factions have been vying for control of Libya, and a parliament based in the east of the country is to vote later today on a replacement of the prime minister for a government of national unity. Mr. Deba has said he will ignore the outcome of the ballot. An election to choose a new government was postponed last December, but no vote is now expected this year. And then we end with we go to with Sudan. The latest in Sudan. And a former minister in Sudan Civil Administration has been arrested in the latest crackdown on critics of the military government. Khalid Omer Youssef and Wagdi Sali, another top official in the former administration, were arrested on Wednesday, according to their Forces of Freedom and Change coalition. Mr. Youssef was arrested at his party's headquarters and taken to a police station in the capital, Khartoum, the Reuters news agency has reported. And Mr. Sali tweeted that he was taken to the same station and then to Omdurman prison and was under investigation regarding a charge of a breach of a trust. And we conclude with the East African community has welcomed the lifting of financial sanctions imposed by the European Union on Burundi almost 6 years ago. The EAC Secretary General Peter Mathuki said the EU's decision would spur development in Burundi and rejuvenate the integration process within the region. He said the move was positive as partner states in the bloc would move together in implementation joint programs as well as promote harmony and cooperation. Mr. Mathuki cited programs supported by the EU, such as trade integration and governance, peace and security, environmental conservation and climate change. The EU on Tuesday lifted financial sanctions against Burundi, which were imposed in 2016 following then President Pierre Nkurunziza's decision to pursue a third term in office, which triggered deadly protests. The EU said that its decision to lift the restrictions was as a result of a peaceful political process that started with the May 2020 general elections that ushered in its current president, and Nkurunziza died in 2020, weeks after the election of Evariste Ndayishimiye, who was his preferred successor. And that is the latest from the continent of Africa. Thank you so much for your time. I don't know if any of you would like to comment in any of the stories there from around the continent before I end the show. Daniel and Douglas. Okay, so they're not present. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Daniel Wesonga. Thank you, Douglas Kirimi. And thank you, our viewer, wherever you've been watching us. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're tuned in from. My name is Miriam Ogutu. This has been Kenya and Africa at a glance, the extended version. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.